I should know it's got to be like cheese. I like that.
I'll keep this brief, but thank you all for coming. Welcome to the first official exhibition of the duo called TTOZOI. TTOZOI, two T's, both capitalized. TTOZOI from Naples. They have been working for the past several years, painting with molds. The work is safe. It said the work is safe. But more importantly, the work is beautiful. The pair sets molds growing on canvas, then at the crucial moment halts the growth of the molds, destroys the molds, introduces other pigmentation, brushes and hands never touch the canvas. You also notice that the canvas itself is a coarse weave. It absorbs better both the spores and the pigments and allows for this, you might call it impression, a growing impression, a living impression. Allows it to flourish on canvas even when it's past its development. Placing the work historically is that it falls into a continuum of abstract artistic practice, abstract painting artistic practice in Italy that you can see it beginning at least with Fontana, if not earlier. Artists like, well-known artists like Fontana and Buri, and artists who are emerging from this period, like in Lema, set the stage for this kind of practice. It's a kind of an informal art, a color field abstraction is what we would call it here, but working with the materials themselves. And in fact, in the California context, we recognize this kind of experimentation with natural and physical processes. It fits in with our own tendency here, beginning in the early 70s, to work with materials coming out of finish fetish, because this is just the opposite. It is neither finished nor finishes. So the opposite mirrors the thinking. But this is definitely a process art reinvented for the current time, reinvented for a time in which most of our visual experience happens behind featureless screens. These are anything but featureless.
Francesca's here now.
Okay. Wait, thank God. Sorry. Okay.
Start with
Allora, noi lavoriamo tutti quasi a quattro mani. Facciamo così, una volta.
Sì, piano piano. Poi cominciate a lavorare.
Lavoriamo un quadro a quattro mani. Prepariamo tutto, dalla tela al telaio, alla preparazione. Dopodiché usiamo solo farina e acqua come elemento naturale.
Okay. Basically, they just work with their four hands, and they work with pigments, natural pigments, flour. Sorry, my pronunciation is very bad, but I start, and water. So they start to create the canvas first of all. Then they put on the canvas the pigments and these other two natural elements, and then they start to work, but in another way.
Okay. Il quadro poi dopo, una volta che abbiamo impostato con la farina e con l'acqua dei pigmenti, viene messo in una serra. Una teca.
Yeah,
E lì rimane 20 giorni.
more or less.
Nella teca si crea un microclima per cui solo la parte organica comincia a deteriorarsi ed è la parte che noi nominiamo sostanzialmente, cioè la natura che comincia ad interagire sul quadro.
So after that, they put all these free materials on the canvas. They put the canvas in a teca, in a box that they close for 20 days. And in that moment, that's the process, because the organic elements start to grow up. And so that's the part of the process that they cannot control. So if I can say that, the fifth hand starts to do his own work. I mean, the end of the nature. So after this part, they opened the grave, the canvas, the box, and they, took the canvas and.
E siamo i primi spettatori di
And they are the pursuers. So it's surprising.
I want to add something, because once talking with me, they said we can control, but we cannot control, above all, the environmental humidity, and the environment is not controlled totally. And they said something very interesting. The growth of the molds changes between summer and winter and seasons.
And also
the
geography. We were talking about geography and how where the molds are actually grown affect how they grow. So if it's Italy or if it's California.
Yes, it is very interesting, the interaction of nature during the seasons and the difference with the seasons and the locations. So, for instance, they mostly, the most part of their works are made in Avellino. Avellino is a small town, 60 kilometers, so in miles, I don't know, 40 miles away from Naples, but inland, and above all is very much humid, because it is very full of green grass and trees and everything. And is a little bit above the sea level, so is totally different if they incubate the artworks in Naples, for instance, than in Avellino, or in Rome, or anywhere else, or here in Los Angeles. This is something interesting that I wanted to add to you, because we talked, and they told me this aspect of
Questa cosa l'abbiamo scoperta lavorando.
And I discovered this aspect, working on molds and canvas and water and humidity.
Yeah, they grow up with more too, you can say that. And
poi una volta che il quadro dopo 20 giorni ha raggiunto la maturazione, così, interveniamo ancora con i pigmenti naturali per impostare pittoricamente il quadro e lo togliamo da quell'ambiente, in modo tale che la muffa non prolifica più.
Ci deve piacere esteticamente,
Yeah.
perché è un quadro, okay? Quindi è l'estetica che guardiamo anche molto. Dopodiché, una volta tirato fuori, il processo finisce, quindi non c'è possibilità specificare questa cosa.
Okay, after those 20 days, the process stops. So if the canvas is good, I mean, if aesthetically speaking it works, it looks good, they continue to work on that. So they maybe add some pigments and they adjust a little bit. And if they don't like, because I mean, don't forget, it's not just an experiment. It's art, so it should be beautiful.
Yeah.
And those are beautiful artworks, first of all. So if they like that, they start to work on that, and that's when they start to work again on this canvas. But the phase before, it's about the famous fifth hand, the end of nature.
Anche perché per noi, dipendente dal concetto della nostra arte, dipendente dal processo della nostra arte, alla fine il bello deve sempre vincere su tutto.
beauty never fades. So that's so important for them. And so then there is the last part of your process that is fixed completely.
Solo per fissarla, ma non perché
Yeah, make it stronger.
Facciamo dei passaggi di resina spray.
There is the spray resin
Yeah,
to fix everything so that it lasts forever. Because obviously the spray is used because it go deep into the canvas and fix inside the canvas, and on the back of the canvas there is a foam which doesn't allow mold goes through. And it is very important because during the process in the crate, molds can also bite and go through the canvas and destroy the canvas, so that they put the foam behind, because foam is a plastic.
It's not organic, so it's not
rebounds back any attempt of the molds to pass through. So it is rebounds back on the surface. This is important. Also, this aspect of their art.
And it's also important to underline that you don't wait so long, but you just let the nature work for 20 days. Voi lavorate per 20, lasciate la natura lavorare per 20 giorni.
Questa pausa che l'artista sempre ha avuto.
Also, too, I think we should talk a little bit about how they use the element of fire.
Oh yeah, that's
because I found that fascinating. Because as you know, when you have a piece of toast and it gets moldy, it has this hair, this little fuzz, and there are remnants of that in these pieces. And in the video that we had here, you could see when they actually light the canvas to kind of stop.
They burn.
They burn it, and it also kind of has a print of the fire, of kind of this post-volcanic action on the canvas, which is beautiful.
So you have water, you have pigments that are like dirty, and flour that is part of the nature.
It's like you have earth and light and fire.
Yeah, the elements, the light. Yeah, all the elements that they have.
They tried before with coffee and wine. Because they tried really at the beginning of their experiments. They tried with coffee and wine, but it came out a sort of dark color, and it was always the same. Whereas with flowers, they experimented that with flowers can many other colors. Produce many other colors.
But it's obviously artwork that grows out of the same culture that provides that's based on wine and cheese.
Just a small question: when you put these in their box, in their grave, are they flat and mounted on wood, or do you roll them up, or do you just bunch them up? So they're always flat.
Yeah.
The second question is, just looking around, so some of these compositions seem very naturalistic and not under control very much. This piece seems like a very controlled composition. This one, a little of both, but there's a lot of play with light in these areas. So I'm wondering, how much do you control your compositions, and how much do you is it? So if I understand, you start out. What goes in the ground is just the flour and water and some pigment, and then afterwards you add. So you're pushing the compositions somewhere. Is that true, or is it total chaos?
In that case, I mean, it's obviously they try to control this nature of control, and the project was square.
Yes.
Or rectangular, quadrato. Yeah, I mean it is, and you cannot compare. Obviously, it's not so precise. It's not so
it feels
fine, but yes, they control like a structure.
Conduct versus control.
Yeah, they try. In this case, they try to conduct with like a very defined edge because yes, they put like a frame on top of the canvas, so they put the flower in a square, in a rectangle. But you can see from the color, from the pigment that changed before that. The process started. It was completely unified. It was just green, and then with time and all this growing, it changed completely. So yes, they can control, but there is a limit. It's the limit that they have to follow. It's the natural.
Right. So it kind of starts with an intention, and then nature takes its course.
But Cabral said is quite the right word: attention and not intention.
Yes, exactly.
But it's important that at a certain point, the attention redirects into the decision,
well,
and that the process is started.
Well, obviously, then you put it there, and then you,
Exactly.
That's why they work after, with the grave and something.
So it's kind of like an organic patina, right?
Hardly, right. Except that it's highly modified with raw pigments. So all the ingredients are natural, but they're not all based. But these haven't been painted only by molds. The molds are the fifth hand, but there are...
Right, there's intention in terms of where the flower goes, there's intention of where the pigments land.
Sometimes the intention is more geometrical, like in that case, sometimes just pause or,
Quello che stupisce a voi dei nostri bambini, esattamente quello che stupisce me.
What is the reaction that you have towards their paintings is the same reaction they have when they discover it.
It's Christmas these days.
Christmas present.
What we get.
But it is not only once that they open. Usually they have the create with plexiglass, so they follow the route of the molds.
They say, talk to the molds, come this way.
Yes, come this way.
This power.
And that's why they are able to decide when the canvas is aesthetically valid, when nature must be blocked and must be killed in a certain sense, because otherwise it is some...
At a certain point you have to harvest the painting.
Yes.
That's a very slow microwave.
Very slow.
Yeah.
Tell me, do you ever, so you put it in, it gets where you want it to go after a certain amount of days, then you work it, do you ever put it back? Go back and forth? And play like that?
Yes, many times
Okay.
they were not satisfied of the situation, or they had to wait for some more growth of the molds, and so they went backward and forward.
That's why before we were talking about time and seasons and locations, because everything makes things change.
I meant more as an interactive thing.
Yeah, yes.
Yes,
You know, not because it's not the way you want it, but just back and forth to
yes.
be in communication with that.
You can also say that they are beyond the regular artists that decide when work is done. So they have to wait, maybe they have to make things faster. So, there is this little part that is time and nature that work together with that.
It's not something separated between a human being and nature. So nature goes on their side, and the human being is much more interactive, and at the end the artist decides and knows when the painting is ready and is good for the art.
When it's beautiful,
when it is beautiful, when it works. And that is the moment when they kill nature, the youngest, as Peter said. Okay.
Grazie.
Thank you.
Grazie.